I'm pretty much an all of the above energy type guy. I support wind. I support solar. I support thermal. I support hydrogen. Unlike many of my Democratic colleagues, I support nuclear, particularly the new small modular reactors. But I also support oil and gas, and that's why I'm supporting this bill. It's a rational, reasoned plan. It's an energy policy that looks like somebody designed the damn thing on purpose. Because that's not what we have right now. President Biden has talked a lot about his plan. I don't completely understand it. As best I can tell, he wants us at some undetermined time in the future to be able to produce our energy without nuclear, without oil, and without natural gas, and certainly without coal. He doesn't really explain how we're going to get from where we are today to that future that he envisions, which is why you're seeing the disruptions in the energy supply throughout the world. Short term, as best I can tell, President Biden and Secretary Kerry's plan is let's don't produce our own fossil fuels. Even though the American economy, the greatest economy in all of human history, gets 80% of its energy from fossil fuels. He wants to end that abruptly. He doesn't want us to produce our own fossil fuels. He wants us to buy natural gas and oil from other countries and basically give countries that hate us more money so they'll have weapons. They can buy weapons to try to kill us. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And it doesn't make any sense to the American people. Final point, you can't talk about energy without talking about climate change. The climate is changing. It's changing in my state. Our sea levels are going up about a foot a century. There are a multitude of reasons for it. We need to address it. But I see, and I think these colleagues of mine see, the changes in our climate as a discrete scientific problem. Unlike President Biden and Secretary Kerry and the other Trotsky-like wokers, they see climate change as a religion. And you can't talk about it unless you follow their dogma. It's much like their new critical race theory. And it's not popular with the American people, and it's not going to solve the problems that we face in terms of the changes that are taking place in our climate. This plan will.
Well, good morning. It's great to be back in Polk County. I come bearing gifts, and we're happy to be able to make a great announcement here today. But before I do, I want to recognize some great folks in my administration and also some other folks here. We have the Department of Economic Opportunity Secretary Dane Eagle, our FDOT Secretary Kevin Tebow, and then our Secretary of Commerce Jamal Sal. We also have Representatives Bell and Hawkins. We have City of Winter Haven Mayor Pro Tem Nathaniel Birdsong, and we have members of the Winter Haven City Commission. So I want to thank you all for joining us here today. We are going to be announcing today and then throughout the week a number of of initiatives designed to support infrastructure and job training and job growth in the state of Florida. And here in Polk County, with Central Florida is a great growth opportunity. You know, we had a lot of good proposals to seek support for infrastructure funding, and the city of Winter Haven was one of the top ones that we were able to see. And so as you see opportunities to really capitalize on a lot of momentum that we have, of course, throughout the whole state of Florida, but particularly in this critical Central Florida region, we want to take advantage of that. And so Winter Haven is a great community. It's a very fast-growing community. In fact, the census data showed if you include the whole Lakeland, Winter Haven metro area, it was tied for second highest rate of growth in the nation between 2019 and 2020. And I know many of you all see it. I know with traffic and everything. And so we understand that there's needs for infrastructure, and there's really a high payoff for being able to support. So today, we are going to be dedicating more than $9 million to support continued economic growth in Winter Haven, including $6.4 million through Florida's Job Growth Grant Fund, as well as an additional $3 million from the Florida Department of Transportation. Now, these funds are going to specifically support road improvements at the Intermodal Logistics Center, which is one of the largest industrial parks served by rail in the entire country. By making these road improvements really going to provide important linkages, we're going to be improving access to more than 1,200 acres of industrial area that will attract new businesses and generate new jobs for the community. And in conjunction with this project, the city is extending its fiber optic infrastructure, resulting in high-speed internet access for site tenants, making the area more marketable for a variety of companies. And this strategic location of this project in the fast-growing area is already attracting additional businesses. Just recently, Coca-Cola announced it will invest millions into one of the project's warehouses, which will create an additional 170 million jobs. And overall, this project, because of our investment at the state level, will create 1,250 new jobs, and indirectly another 3,500 jobs. And so you're talking about, between direct and indirect, close to 5,000 additional jobs. And these jobs will be in very important fields like manufacturing, logistics, and technical services industries. And this builds off Today's award builds off our commitment to job growth in Polk County. Earlier this year, City of Winter Haven received $1.46 million from 3 different community development block grants. And then when you look at all the funding that Polk County has received at both the municipal and county level for job growth and infrastructure so far this year, we've made almost $60 million of investment in 2021 alone. And so we're really bullish on Polk County, and we understand that that it's going to be going to help drive the state now and into the future. And so we're also fortunate to be we perform higher than the national average on virtually any economic metric that you can think of, lower unemployment. Of course, if you look at the folks that have brought businesses here, we've obviously attracted way more businesses than we've repelled, and we have a lot of individuals who are bringing their ability to invest in our communities here by leaving some of the states that have not approached policy in a rational fashion. And so we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to capitalize off the momentum that Florida has. You know, I am concerned if you look at a state like Florida, we have 16 consecutive months of private sector job growth. We've been below the national average for over a year at unemployment. I mean, we really should have been one of the highest in unemployment, because if you look as COVID, the tourism and all this stuff, I mean, that was like number 1 to be able to get hit. We worked really hard to protect those jobs in those industries, and as a result, we've added about 1 million private sector jobs since the peak of the job losses due to the reaction to the pandemic. And then we are way ahead of the national average in tourism, hotel demand, travel spending, and air travel capacity. And so we have really been a place where people have always wanted to get to, not only just for vacation, but for permanent and for business. And so we want to continue to do that. At the same time, you look at what's happening overall on the national level with the economy, this inflation is real. I mean, they tried to act like it was not something to worry about, that it was transitory. Fact, you're seeing it permeate across all sectors of the economy. I'm really worried about gas prices going up. That's going to really hammer a lot of Floridians who have to commute to work every day. We should be using the resources we have in this country. We have a lot of opportunities. Instead, they're shutting down pipelines and they're doing other things. And so that's going to be a real big concern. I mean, we're going to keep doing our job. We're going to make sure we're going in a good direction. But that inflation is something that's real. What you're seeing with energy and gas prices is real. And I'd like to say it's just going to peter out. But I think we're probably looking at a winter period where, I mean, you already see things being, the supplies are not what they used to be. There's a whole host of things that are really having problems right now. So we're going to stay ahead of the curve in Florida, but we do recognize that these are some national macro trends that we've got to keep our eye on and contend with. And so our commitment is to continue to do good policy and to continue to support communities like here in Winter Haven and like Polk County that really do have, I think, a lot going on, and we'll have a lot going on in the future. So we've got some folks here to be able to speak to what we're doing. So I want to bring up some of the folks that are with us today. So we have Dane Eagle from the Department of Economic Opportunity.
Well, I want to thank the governor.
Wait, actually, before that, I want to present you the money. All right, so we've got $3 million from FDOT, and then $6.4 million from the governor's Job Growth Grant Fund. So that's not a bad day at the office for the city of Winter Haven. You in there? You got it?
A long-term PR since my heat funding will stay the same in a continuing resolution, and it's obviously going to be much more needed this year.
That's not figured into any of this component. What we're focusing on is now the cost of energy that people are getting hit with all across the country. Yeah, we need to fund the government. The deadline there is December 3rd. This is a focus on the fact that this administration is intentionally shutting down American energy, making energy more expensive to help drive a need for renewables. This is a manipulation of the economy and causing pain for the American people as a result. Alex.
What do you think about President Biden's calling on the Federal Trade Commission to investigate whether oil and gas companies are participating in illegal conduct to keep the price of oil and gas higher than it should be?
Whenever energy prices have been up in the past, this is a tradition of presidents to do that, and it's not going to have any impact. They're not going to find that happening. What they're going to find is if the president actually looked in the mirror, he would see he's the cause of this, starting day one when he drew a target on the back of American energy and pulled the trigger.
Hey,
yes.
John, can I
Oh, sure.
So I think the one issue there is you're looking at kind of what was stated earlier, kind of political actions to show that he's doing something. The SPRO is one, right? They're talking about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is the second one. But the president in his town hall meeting on CNN actually said, hey, immediate term, there's not much we can do. That's actually 100% wrong. All the policies that we have just talked about, that they implemented on day one, if they started to reverse those, that would have an impact that would be very, very important. So it's the actions that they need to take to reverse their current policies, not political theater. The FTC, I guarantee you, some White House advisor, well, this will look good, like you're doing something, Mr. President. It's not. It's not going to do a thing. Neither is the SPRO. The energy experts say Strategic Petroleum Reserve, maybe 2 weeks, small increase in price. What they need to do is reverse these policies that we have been talking about, that they have implemented from day one, and we're not even answering the question why. They're driven by the radical far left of the party. And they're trying to drive up prices on American energy and American families. And I really think it's important that people just ask them the question, is this purposeful?
Senator Blunt brought this up earlier. The $4.5 billion from the American Rescue Plan, the administration is trying to get that out to the states. It's for life. I just want to ask you, in terms of impact, what real world impact would it have here?
Well, it has no real-world impact there. What it does is help LIHEAP recipients pay the bill. I've always been a LIHEAP supporter. You know, we need to be moving on the appropriations bill. I think the fact that we've spent so much time focusing on the bill that will have a lot of things that make these problems worse have prevented us from having the oxygen necessary in the Senate and the House to get to the bill that would adequately fund a fund that's going to need more money this winter than it needed last winter. But it doesn't need it, I don't think, between now and December 31st or sometime in January. But clearly we're going to begin to see huge problems for LIHEAP eligible families.
That is the last one back.
Prime Minister Trudeau is in Washington meeting with President Biden today. What message would you have to President Biden regarding the line pipeline which the Trudeau government has really firmly defended?
Well, we are on the side of the pipelines from Canada to the United States that this administration has basically thumbed its nose at and is attacked. So we're supporting what the Canadian folks want to do, and it's an energy that we need. And I did see that, at least was reported this morning, that the president was not going to engage the press or even talk to the American people about what was a result of that discussion with the prime minister.
Can I add
Yeah,
to
go
that,
ahead.
John? Yeah. So 55% of the propane that Michigan uses comes through that pipeline. It is the lifeblood for rural Michiganders, right? And we all want to leave this world cleaner, healthier, safer than we found it. That pipeline was a very special pipeline. It's triple thickness. They're able to go in there I envision like doing a colonoscopy and examine the integrity of that pipeline. I think they need to do everything possible to make sure that that pipeline is intact, that it's very functional, that it's safe. They're doing so many things in the pipeline industry now to make them even safer, with probably 95% less leakage than ever before. It's a crime shame what it's going to do to impact those people in rural Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you.
They left me.
Yesterday, we were here talking about the impact of inflation on food prices that you're seeing across the country. Today, the focus is on energy, but it's all intertwined. We're seeing this, across the economy, all goods and all services, and that's impacting everybody on a daily basis, no matter what they're doing. And, we've given you some of the statistics, like, for example, in my state, average price of a gallon of gas has gone from just over $2 to now well over $3. Natural gas prices have almost tripled since the beginning of the year. And so we're seeing it across the board. And that is a tax on every single American every single day that they're paying. That's the reality. And it is the policies of this administration that's causing it. You can't come in on day one and start shutting down pipelines or setting up a moratorium on leasing on federal lands and federal waters, and taking those kind of steps of increasing regulation and making it more difficult to produce energy here at home. You can't do those things and not drive up energy prices. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. And then amazingly, they take the sanctions off Nord Stream 2 and allow Russia to bring natural gas into Europe, and turn around and ask our adversaries, countries like Russia and the countries in OPEC, to produce more oil while you're trying to suppress that energy production here in our country. I mean, it absolutely defies common sense. And of course, now what the administration and our colleagues across the aisle in Congress are working on is a big tax and spend plan that will add to this inflation problem. Think about it. More tax, more spend, more regulation is going to just drive inflation even further. And so they're saying, well, look, with this tax and spend bill, gee, nobody that makes less than $400,000 is going to have to pay more tax. It's just the people that make more than $400,000 are going to have to pay more tax. Well, the fact is, inflation is a tax on every American every single day in every product they buy. And who does it hit the hardest? The people with low income. It hits them the hardest. That's the wrong policy. It's the wrong approach. We need to go back to empowering the people that produce energy in this country. They do it better than anyone in the world, and they do it with the best environmental stewardship. And that was the track we were on before this administration came in, with the kind of policies that are preventing that. And we need to get back to the right approach.
Well, not only is this bad policy, but I think the key issue here, and we'd love it respectfully if you guys can ask the White House again, this is purposeful policy. This is purposeful policy. The White House isn't a bunch of dummies. They are purposely driving up prices on Americans for energy. How do we know that? A, just listen to the rhetoric of Gina McCarthy and others, the czars, where they say that limited supply will increase prices and that will, quote, accelerate the transition to renewables. Go ask them. This is purposeful. The second reason we know it's purposeful is just look at the policies. When you limit production of American energy, when you go to kill energy infrastructure like pipelines, when you go and strong-arm the financial institutions of this country, which they're doing, saying don't invest in American energy. Oh, by the way, definitely don't invest in American energy in the Arctic, which is called Alaska. This is the result. You now have a comptroller of the currency nominee who has recently said, just a couple months ago in a seminar, part of the policy mix will be to put out of business small oil and gas producers. This is purposeful. And it would be great if you guys could just blatantly ask the White House, are you trying to drive up energy prices on the backs of hardworking Americans? The answer is yes. Listen to the rhetoric, look at their actions, and they're very successful. And they're harming working class families. Here's the final point. This administration is so out of touch with those families. You had the White House Chief of Staff recently tweet out saying high energy prices, inflation is a, quote, high-class problem. What the heck does that mean? The White House press secretary on these issues is starting to look like Baghdad Bob. Some of you might remember him during the first Gulf War. These issues are exploding all around the White House, and they just ignore them, like there's nothing happening to working families. You know, the Secretary of Energy has talked about releasing the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We have a much better idea. There's something in Alaska called the National Petroleum Reserve of Alaska. Tap that. That's what Congress intended it for. And some of you were here 2 weeks ago when we laid out a common sense, all of the above energy plan that can actually reduce emissions, but play to our strengths, which is abundance in export technology in clean burning American natural gas all over the world. That would reduce global emissions while expanding job opportunities, helping our foreign policy. That's the route we need to go, not crushing American energy and hurting working families.